debunk something about childhood wounds really quickly. Attachment styles are born between the ages of roughly 2 to 3 to 8 to 9-ish. 2 to 3, 8 to 9-ish is when our attachment styles are formed. Well, who helps us mold our attachment styles? Our attachment styles are molded by the folks who are responsible for raising us. Our parents, our guardians. If your parents didn't do it, some of you were raised by your grandparents. We've talked about this before ad nauseum, right? Why is this important? Well, it's important because we always equate attachment style to brokenness as adults. I have a lot of clients who come to me and say things like, oh, I'm dealing with all these problems because of my attachment style. And my attachment style is the reason why I have all of these issues as an adult. Well, attachment style can be the reason why many of us struggle with a lot of challenges. Very possible. But let me give you 3 things that don't influence your attachment style. And some of these are going to floor you. Because I had to correct hard a client a few weeks ago. Sweet lady. But I had to correct her hard. I said, ma'am, don't use another term on another one of my calls. If you use one more term on my calls, because it's clear you don't know how to define them, and it's clear you don't understand what these words really mean. If you use one more term, we're going to do something different. Get off Wikipedia and TikTok and stop using words you don't understand. Why am I making a big deal out of this? Because a lot of us are making certain factors connected to our attachment style. We are equating certain factors to our attachment style, and these factors are not only not reasons that influence your attachment style, these factors become excuses for you not to change. They become excuses for you not to change. Look, somebody put in the comments, Doc, you really said that? Yeah, I do. And let me just say this, by the way. When my books open up, I have to remind you all every couple of months, don't sign up for my work if you don't want the truth. I don't know why many of you would spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and some of you thousands of dollars to work with me just to get on the camera, and then get mad when I tell you the truth. What did you sign up for? Save your money and get out of line. Okay? Y'all, there are 3 things that do not influence attachment style that people I've seen in my work have tried to equate to attachment style. Let me give you those 3 things. Number 1, poverty. I'm about to get in trouble. This is going to be brutal. Y'all supporting this show? Poverty. Let's start with that. Poverty has nothing to do with your attachment style. Well, Doc, I wouldn't be anxious if I didn't grow up poor, Doc. If I didn't grow up in the projects, Doc. If I didn't grow up as an orphan, Doc, I wouldn't be anxious. I wouldn't be avoid. Your poverty has nothing to do with your attachment style. Your poverty has nothing to do with your attachment style. How poor you grew up, how much money you had or did not have, has nothing to do with your attachment style. Let me tell you something. Some of the healthiest people that I've worked with are people that don't have a whole lot. Where's my soundboard when I need it? I need some virtual oh my gods in the comment sections to just write. Some of y'all gonna have to type oh my God in all capital letters tonight to just motivate me without my board. Many of you have used your money and poverty as an excuse to say, oh, that's why I'm anxious, Doc. That's why I'm gonna avoid it. That's why I'm dismissed. Baloney, baloney. In fact, it has absolutely nothing to do with your attachment style. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. Journal with Jamel, I believe that is. Has nothing to do with your attachment style. Your poverty becomes an excuse for you to be anxious, avoidant, if you allow it to empower your behavior. Can't tell me that. And I'm going to take it a step further. Y'all ready for this? And this is going to be bad. Some of the wildest stories I've heard in this space have come from folk that got a whole lot of money. Some of those challenging predicaments that people are in have come from clients that got a whole lot of money. Private jets, nannies, multiple houses, property everywhere, and 2 Skittles from completely delusional. Y'all, money will never fix your mental health. Work is. I want you to record it now. Money won't fix your mental health, and it won't debilitate it either. The lack of it won't debilitate it either. It's the work that's going to do it. And this is why many of you need to heal while you broke. Man, I wish I had my soundboard in here. Many of you need to heal while you broke. You know why? Because if you heal while you got some money, you might get comfortable in the thing that you used to. I am so grateful that my healing journey took place when I can barely pay my bills. Let me just be transparent real quick. When I can barely pay my bills, my healing journey took place. Why is that important? Because it taught me things don't heal you. So for all of you that are thinking your attachment style is connected to how much money you got or where you live, bullcrap. It's an excuse at its finest. Heal while you broke. Because if you heal while you're broke and you get into a little bit of money, then you will remain true to who you are. Besides, let's just say this out loud. Money doesn't change people. It just reveals what you are. My heart was good when I was broke. My heart was good. Me and the kids talk about this a lot. And a lot of that, they didn't even know what was going on. They were, me and their mom were laughing. Their mom had a Great Dane, one of her mini dogs when my kids were little. And we used to put Giselle on the Great Dane's back. Yeah, my kids didn't even understand how poor and how much we struggled in that home. They had no idea. So now we laugh and we talk about it. And it's like, Dad, oh my God, we don't remember that. But one thing we do know is you always work. You are always working. You would sit us on your lap. You had us on your lap while you were typing. Sometimes we showed up in your calls. You had us sitting right there. You always made time for us. You always worked. That's one thing we've always known. You know why? Because money don't change who you are. It just reveals who you are. And this is why sometimes it's easier for poor people to heal than it is rich. Now, this is really a spiritual principle, and I don't have time to deal with it tonight. I wish I had 2 hours, but this is really a spiritual principle. This is why, for those of us that are Christians, shout out to all my atheists, Muslims, agnostics, everybody that's tuned in, and my clients. I love y'all. Y'all know I do. But this is why us as Christians, the Bible tells us something plainly, that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go into heaven. You know why? Because when you poor and you ain't got nothing else, sometimes that forces you to go a little bit deeper. Money just reveals who you are. Money does not create integrity, it reveals it. Money doesn't create happiness, it reveals it. Money doesn't create a vice, it reveals it. Baby, you can be a crackhead broke, and you can be a rich crackhead with a lot of money. Does this make sense? So poverty doesn't impact your attachment style. How much money you have or don't have does not. So cut that out. Doc, if I had more money, I wouldn't be as anxious. I wouldn't be avoided. I wouldn't be so easily attacked. Cut it out. There's no research that suggests that poverty connects your attachment style. Let me give you a second thing that doesn't influence your attachment style. This is going to floor some of y'all. You ready? The mic on? Divorce. Divorce does not influence your attachment style. This is where I'm about to lose some of y'all. Doc, are you sure about that? Are you sure, Doc, that divorce will not influence your attachment style? I'm positive. I will tell you what influences your attachment style more than divorce. You ready? Being in a marriage with somebody where your values don't match, you fighting, cussing, and cutting every other day right in front of your kids, and they sit there and watch it, and they begin to normalize your interaction together as normal love, that does way more damage to your attachment style than divorce does. In other words, some of y'all worried about the wrong things. You think that because you experience a divorce, that just is going to debilitate your attachment style, and it doesn't have to be. You know why? Because some of us have experienced divorce and we did it in an amicable way, and our children are just fine. Some of us came from divorce homes where our parents, either one of them or both of them, did everything that was necessary to ensure you receive balance as a young person. And you turn out just fine. So this idea that you are doomed to hell because you come from a divorced family is foolishness. I'll tell you what it is. It's called an excuse. And I'm going to explain that a little bit because I'm going to give you three, maybe four things you can heal to correct your childhood wound. And I'm going to spend more time on this one. All right. So I'm going to come back to this, but it absolutely can be fixed. But you've got to be honest and self-aware. We're going to get into self-awareness in a second. You got to be honest and self-aware about a number of things, including your parents. But divorce isn't the end all be all. I have friends that have come through divorce, that have been divorced. And let me tell you something. They are some of the best parents and they are some of the best husbands and wives you will ever meet. Now I know a lot of this content is out here telling you, oh, don't break up a home, even though the husband being abusive or the wife being abusive or cheating, whatever it is. Don't break up a home because you're going to damage the kids. Foolishness. I want you to put this in your notes, and if you got to plaster it on your forehead, do it. For your child to be secure and healthy, they need one healed parent. That's it. They need one healed parent. Listen, is two healed parents the best scenario? Absolutely. I had to break this down to some clients last week. There's such a thing when it comes to solutions as good, better, and best. Best scenario, two healed parents. Better scenario, one healed parent. Good scenario, at least one aware parent who's trying to do what they can to become the best version of themselves. Good, better, best. But let me tell you something. If you grew up with at least one parent that was self-aware, that was striving to be healed, demonstrate a healed lifestyle in front of you, you have no excuse to be anxious as a result of a divorce. Boy, where's my soundboard when I need it so I can hit that cricket button? You got no excuse. If you're a young person watching right now and you're being raised by a single parent, you have no excuse to be anxious if that parent is doing the work. So we got to quit creating all of these excuses that keep people in therapy for 20 years. It's passing dysfunction at its finest. Okay? So that's another thing that doesn't influence your attachment style. Let me give you a third one. You ready? Family history. What, Doc? No. Family history does not influence your attachment style. Are you serious? Doc, what if everybody in my family is crazy? No, it doesn't. Family history doesn't influence your attachment style. I'll tell you what influences better than family history. You ready? It ain't poverty. It ain't divorce. It ain't family history. I want everybody to put this in the chat. I need somebody to support this show right now fast, or I'm taking it down. Choices. You want to know what influences your attachment style? Choices. Nothing influences your attachment style like choices. And you know why mainstream doesn't like teaching attachment styles like this, which is why I'm debating. Book number 6 is either going to be on relationships, which y'all love for me to talk about. I'm not a relationship expert or coach, but healing helps you have better relationships. I'll admit that. So I'm good at teaching it, and I'm good at knowing it, and I'm good at doing it because healing helps with that. So it's either going to be on relationship or it's going to be on attachment styles. But they don't like you to teach attachment styles like this. You know why? Because it debunks all of this foolishness that people did your attachment style to you. No, nothing creates an attachment style like a choice. And I have the data. Some of y'all are just talking. I got the data. I have clients who have come from circumstances that would make some of y'all blush hard. I have heard some of the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking stories about clients that have overcome all kinds of things in their lives. Parents, both of their parents strung out on drugs, grew up in an orphanage, didn't even know their parents, had to deal with things like molestation and all kinds of, and I've had clients come out of all of that and create outstanding lives for themselves in a secure way. And you mean to tell me that just because you got a crazy family history, that means you got to be crazy? I wish I had my mic so I could say it and scream it loud. You can come from crazy circumstances, and that don't mean you have to be crazy. And I'm just going to tell you, when I talk to my clients like this, some of them are taken aback because they're used to many therapists and counselors and coaches making excuses for them. I don't do that. That ain't my style. Never has been, never will be. Doc, never say never. Never. Is that loud enough? Nothing influences your attachment style like a choice. Doc, my parents were dysfunctional. That, hey, it can have some influence on it. But when you become aware, when you know the difference between right or wrong, you can make a choice. And nothing shifts your attachment style like a choice. Nothing repairs. Doc, how can we break it? Nothing repairs your attachment style like a choice. I have friends, I have colleagues, former colleagues that have gone through 12-step programs that will be quick to tell you that step 1 of that 12-step program, acknowledging that you have a problem, is the beginning of you making a different choice. There's not even an addiction you can't break without making a different choice. Choices solve a lot of problems, which brings me to parenting. Because some of you parents, this is going to challenge you. And some of you that were parented bad, this is going to free you. Some of you that are thinking about parenting, you need to listen to what I'm about to say to you. I said at the beginning of tonight's talk that poor parenting, without a doubt, is the number one reason why my work is so popular. Because I don't care if my client is 18 or my oldest client, 81. A lot of the problems they describe are the results of poor parenting. And let me tell you something. I want everybody to put this in the chat because I'm about to take the next 10 minutes and talk about parenting. You ready? When it comes to parenting, your job is to figure it out. Where's my soundboard? Because I feel like I'm about to just go off. When it comes to parenting, your job is to figure it out. Doc, what's the it? I don't care what it is. Anything related to your kids, your job is to figure it out. Let me tell you, the reason why a lot of my clients have come from piss poor circumstances is because their mom and daddy struggled to figure it out. I have never seen a generation of more piss poor parents in my entire brief lifetime than I have now. And when I say generation, I ain't talking about young people. I'm talking about you can be in your 60s, 70s, and 80s and be a piss poor parent. I see it every day. Your job is to figure it out, which means when your kids need things, they got problems, they have challenges, issues, you got schedules to manage. I can go down a laundry list of things. Figure it out. I was sharing with a couple recently, really digging into a couple recently about missing some things with their child, one of them in particular. I was hearing all these excuses about traffic and stuff. And I said, look, bro, my kid's 11, 12. I have only missed two things in their life. Two. Let me just talk about me. Are y'all supporting the show? I hope y'all are. Y'all ain't supporting the show. What's up with y'all? I've only missed two things in my life. Number one, I missed the daddy-daughter dance this year, February. Those of you that were in the Atlanta stop, you know what I'm talking about because I talked about it. They announced that date 45 days before the show. I had Atlanta set at the end of 2024. Venue booked, everything going on. And when they rolled that date out, I had to tell my daughter, baby, I can't take you this year. It's the hardest thing I ever had to do. She didn't cry. She wasn't upset. She was sad. Daddy, I am sad, but I understand. I missed that. There's another thing that I missed. And this is won't really a miss. I figured it out. My kids, my son had a practice, and my daughter had a school concert at the same exact time, about 25 minutes apart, distance-wise, which meant, just use this as an example, both of them, their practices and their concerts started at 7 p.m. They started at the same time in two different locations. Mom wasn't available. My parents weren't available. I had to figure out how to get them there. You know what I did? Called this coach and said, hey, my son is either going to be 30 to 45 minutes late or he may not make it at all. Well, so happened that band concert was all of a hot 25, 30 minutes. So me and my son went to my daughter's concert because that was for a grade. I had to make a decision, figure it out. When the concert was over, we grabbed Giselle, we hopped in the car, and we ran to that practice and caught the last 25 minutes of that practice. I ain't missed but two things. And I work 90 hours a week. And I have a business that's growing. And I'm on tour. And I have my children 90% of the time. Figure it out. And here's the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. We don't want to raise kids. We don't want to raise kids. We don't mind making them. We'll talk about that in a second. But we don't want to raise no kids. And what's problematic about figuring it out is because parents don't realize that you really do wound your children when you're things like unreliable. You really do ruin them when you're things like unreliable, not dependable. Are y'all writing this stuff down? Inconsistent. Somebody saying, "Can you post this?" I will leave it up if y'all support. The ways to support on the screen. This is gonna be good. When you're not reliable, not dependable, inconsistent, a pro excuse maker. And as some of you, as adults, would look at your parents or guardians that raised you and ask yourself, how reliable were they? How dependable were they? How consistent were they? And how many excuses did they make? You would be shocked that if you just answer those 4 questions, that'll explain a lot. Won't it? There's more. I got more on the list. Irresponsible. I think somebody put it up on IG. Not accountable. Don't nothing wound you like a parent that won't apologize. I wish I could say it in Spanish. Nothing wounds you more like a parent that won't say, I'm sorry. And look at you. Some of you in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you got parents in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who have never parted their mouths and said, I'm sorry. And you would be shocked at what can be solved when it comes to your attachment style. If your grown parents would just look at you one day and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't do it all right. I apologize. I made this mistake. You'd be shocked. The pain and the agony and the anxiety that can be lifted from how you show up anxious, dismissive, or avoided all through an apology. And you would be shocked at the number of clients that I have who are now in their 40s, 50s, 60s who have never heard their parents say, I'm sorry. Let me give you another word that a lot of parents are. And this one goes perfect with my example. You want to know another word that parents are? Poor parents are? That really wounds their children? Immature. Immature. I have 2 great examples to explain this. We were in a well-known store Tuesday when we got here. Family got here. We were in a well-known store. We're kind of split up. It's something that my mom and dad always do. They always take all their kids and grandkids and spouses on vacations. And this is our second one this summer. We were just on vacation a couple of weeks ago. You guys remember. And we're in this store getting grocery items. And so we split up and dad just tells everybody to get a buggy or whatever, which I think he overspends. And we try to reel them in, but they just go crazy for these grandkids. I have to get them to understand I'm the oldest child. I did not grow up like that. Right? And I'm grateful my parents are doing so well. So we're in this store and we're split up. We're split up. I think at the time I had my daughter, my niece Maddie with me. Yeah, my daughter, my niece Maddie with me, and we happened to find my mom on an aisle who was looking for something, and we all kind of had just our own things we wanted to do, the set things we always do. I make omelets for them, so I'm the omelet guy. So I make omelets for them every trip. That's what I got to make in the morning. So I'll be up in the morning making omelets, which I don't have to do any content tomorrow because Charlotte is taking care of that. Buy your tickets for Charlotte, August the 16th. But I make omelets. And so imagine making about 13, 14 omelets. That's what I'll be doing in the morning. um, and so me, Giselle, and Maddie, my niece, were walking in Walmart. We found what we were looking for. I think I like had it in my hand. And probably about 20 feet ahead of me was a couple. I wasn't paying him any attention. It was a man pushing a buggy and there was a woman standing next to her. I'm paying attention. Maybe 20 feet ahead of us. Just a normal couple, just going in the same direction. So we were to their backs. They were pushing the buggy. I'm in the middle. My daughter's on the left side. No, my niece is on my left side. My daughter's on the right. And we're walking, looking for everybody else. We got the things we were looking for. And as we're walking, a kid busted between me and my daughter, ran between me and my daughter, and tripped over my foot and hit the ground. When he hit the ground, the mama, which I didn't know was his mama, turns around and looks at the kid and says, whatever his name is, we're going to just use Johnny. Johnny, get up. Get off the floor. What are you doing? grabs Johnny, get up, stop running. I told you to stop running in the store. You know what his daddy did? His daddy looked at me. Where is my cricket soundboard when I need it? His daddy looked at me as if what, y'all? I tripped his son. Giselle looked at me and said, Daddy, you didn't see that boy coming. You didn't trip him. He ran over your foot. He had no business running in front of us, in between us anyway. He had no business running in this store. The daddy looked at me and said, no, the daddy just looked at me. I said, Sir, you didn't see your son running from way back there and y'all way up here? And he didn't say anything. And then I said, Get your son. Yes, I did. Get your son. Because if you would have been watching your son, you were 20 feet ahead of me. This boy couldn't have been no more than 5 or 6. If that. Probably more like 4 to 5. Why was a 4 or 5-year-old boy that far behind y'all and y'all 20 feet ahead of me? I looked him right in his face and said, Get your son. I grabbed my daughter. I put my hand behind my daughter's back. I grabbed my niece and put my hand around her back. They're the same age. And I pulled them and I said, Y'all come on. And as I'm walking off, after I said, Get your son, he goes over to the wife who's sitting there fussing at the son and said, He's all right. He's all right. You don't have to do all of that. No, that's the problem. You ain't doing nothing. I grabbed my kid and my daughter. I said, Y'all come on. Immature parents, not raising their kids. We don't raise them kids. I don't see a day at 4 and 5 where I would have been able to run in the store and be 30 to 40 feet behind my parents at the age of 4 or 5. For all I know, I could have been Freddy Krueger. Somebody grabbed your little boy and went on somewhere and ran off. Immature. I'm not making this up. Literally happened Tuesday. I'll give you a better example. You ready for this? Here's a better example. My son was playing in the 13-14 league. He's only 11. He was playing in the 13-14 league earlier this year. Team was really good. They ended up winning the championship. My son, came off the bench. He's 11 on a 13-14 team. He's 11. So he ended up coming off the bench. He contributed here and there, but I play him up because he's really good. I'm trying to get him even better. So he plays 2, 3, 4 years older than his age. So he's out there with these big kids. Well, the game was really tested because the team that they were playing was undefeated. Nobody felt like this team could be beat. And my son's team was really good. And my son's team ended up beating this undefeated team. And then they would see them again in the championship, and they beat them again in the championship. It was a very testy game. A lot of the parents for that team was kind of rowdy, going back and forth with the refs, standing on the court, real ghetto. Well, one of the parents decided he wanted to fight the director of the league. He's getting into the argument with the director of the league because the director of the league walked over and said, Hey, sir, you got to calm down. You're out here threatening the referee and doing all this stuff. You got to calm down. So this parent, instead of having some self-awareness, was immature and started going back and forth with the director. The director goes outside. This is a true story. Director goes outside the gym. And when he goes out, this parent gets up and follows him. They go outside the gym door. And then you could see other people coming in to see the game, but they looked a little distraught and they were looking out. They were coming in, but they were looking distraught. And they were looking out, but they were walking. They were kind of looking behind the wall. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm really cool with the director of the entire program, they're out there fighting. Well, my son is sitting right there on the bench. His team's playing. It's like the second quarter, something like that. I'm probably 50 feet from the door. So I told my daughter, I said, Giselle, sit right here. I got up. I walked to the edge of the door and looked out. And I saw some guys coming in, and somebody was holding the door open. And there were about 2 or 3 men that were coming in. And they were saying, yeah, they're outside fighting. The director, program director, black guy, parent, white guy. I'm going to add some context to this in just a second. There's a reason why I'm telling you race. Yeah, and 3 white men came in. I said, is everything okay? He said, they're out there fighting. I said, for real fighting? He said, yes, sir. So I came back in the gym, sat down. I'm waving at the guy that's over the whole program. he gets my attention, and I point like this, and I said, go outside. So he sees me, he drops his board, what he was doing. He starts running out the gym to go outside to try to break it up. Y'all tell me why. There was a guy sitting 2 seats above me, black guy, sitting 2 seats above me and says, man, dog. First of all, my name ain't Dog. I don't know who Dog is. So when he was saying dog, I didn't know who he was talking to. That's number one. Dog. I'm sure he ain't talking to me. He kept, dog. So I turned around. So you talking to me? I said, yeah, man. He said, bro, why didn't you go out there and help? I said, help what? He said, man, you went out there, man. Why didn't you go out there and help out? I turned like this. That's my daughter. I don't know why people think I'm not bold in person. I turned just like this. I said, hey, bro. I said, you see that kid sitting over there on the bench? He said, which one? I said, the little light-skinned one that's got the blonde, got the braids with the blonde. I said, you see him? I said, yeah. I said, that's my son. He said, what did that got to do with the fight? I said, why would I go outside and fight like a monkey when my kid in here playing? And I looked at him and said, stop being a monkey. I turned around and kept watching the game. My bad, dog. I ain't mean it like that, bro. I ain't mean it like that. I wasn't trying to start. I said, you ain't starting nothing. I said, but I got a son right there playing, and I got a daughter next to me. What I look like going outside fighting like a monkey? I get my part, as I said. I got help out there. What I look like running outside, while my son on the bench, he worried about what I'm doing. My daughter's in the gym. No. Parents are poor parents today because they're immature. And I want to say this to all of you. Unless it is a situation you cannot avoid, you have no business getting in fights in front of your kids. Boy, I know some of y'all cussing me out under your breath. You have no business out here fighting like an idiot in front of your kids. Unless it is a situation you absolutely can't avoid. Because you can't control other people. No. When am I going to go outside fighting a fight that ain't got nothing to do with me? Just because one of them look like me when I got 2 kids who need me. No. This is the problem. Raise your kids. Raise your kids. Stop being unreliable. Stop being not dependable. Stop being inconsistent. Stop being a professional excuse maker. Stop being irresponsible. Stop being not accountable. Stop being immature. You can solve their attachment style with just that. You fix that list, you fix a lot of stuff.
Listen, y'all, I hope this made sense. If it did, I want you to type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then I want you to remember you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.